I'm just going to show you 3 different ab exercises that I started out with when I had my diastasis. You're going to be really shocked by them because they're very elementary, but you need to do them to help to heal you so that you are able to move on to those harder core workouts. So the first one's a pelvic tilt. You can do that with your legs up. So laying flat on your back and just engage those abdominals. You're pulling everything down to your back. So belly to back. You're not lifting your shoulders. All you're gonna do is engage that pelvic floor and a slight pelvic tilt. It's the smallest movement. I know that seems like the wimpiest movement ever, but part of diastasis recti is that your pelvic floor is weakened. So you have to re-engage that pelvic floor. So I used to do at least 50 of those a day. Something that you can do to engage a little bit more is you can pull those legs up. Maybe place your hands underneath a little bit so that you're not arching out that lower back. That lower back needs to be completely on your mat or on the floor. It can't be lifting at all or you're exacerbating your gap. You can pull that head up off the mat. That lower back really needs to stay there. You can place your hands underneath your butt if you need to get a little bit help, but then you're just going to do that pelvic tilt again. Squeeze, 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 squeeze. When you're ready, if you feel like you're ready, you can also do single leg lifts. Keep a hand on your belly. You should be feeling whether or not your gap is opening up in any of these movements. So that back stays nice and firm on the floor. Both sit bones are down. Your belly button is pulled to your back and it's hollowed out in the top. So you slow lower, slow raise. Exhale as you go down. As you exhale forcefully, it compresses those transverse abdominals, that corset muscle, and it will help to heal your gap because you're not working the rectus abdominals as much. And that's what we're going for. You need to strengthen the transverse before you move on to like crunches or other more advanced movements. So switching. And you can do as many of these as you want as long as that lower back stays completely on the floor. If your lower back is staying on the floor, your transverse abdominals are engaged, your pelvic floor is engaged, and that's what we're going for. When you're done with those, you can move on to like core compressive breaths. All that is like when you're standing or sitting at work and you start to feel that your abdominals are getting tired or weak. All you're gonna do is take a big deep breath in and then exhale forcefully. And you'll feel it engage your rectus abdominals, but also that transverse and your pelvic floor. You'll feel kind of like a slight hollow out as you do that. So just one more time, just from the front, you're gonna inhale. And as you do that, your ribs should compress. You should feel your body kind of slightly pull forward. You should feel your pelvic floor pull up in that pelvic tilt, making sure that everything is just compressing each time. You can kind of do those standing crunches, but do it with your breath because that causes the compression. When you're ready, you can move on to isometric ab exercises, which means things like planks. Like you could do a side plank, but the point is you hold it here nice and tight. When we're talking about isometric movements, it means just be still. Hold it here, nice and still. If you think that adding like a leg lift is gonna be good for you, no. What that does is it causes too much motion and your abs are too weak to handle that right now. Just hold it here nice and strong. Learn how to be here before you move on. You can switch to that opposite side. Obviously, we wanna do both sides. And you can do these for as long as you want. Keep a hand on your belly if you feel like your gap is opening. That is not what you want. Keep that compression, that slight pelvic tilt. Your pelvic floor is engaged. You can also do a regular plank. This one you have to be really careful with. A lot of people with diastasis recti tend to be here, and because that bulge or because that gap is so pronounced, their belly will bulge out into kind of like a bubble. Mine did, and that's how I can say that. So if you're here and you feel like you can't pull everything in tight, skip it for now. Wait until you're stronger. But when you finally are at that point, make sure that you're here, nice and straight, that your pelvic floor is under you, that everything is compressed. If you ever feel like you just can't hold it in and they're popping out, you need to stop and you need to wait. You need to go back and revisit those pelvic tilts, the leg lifts, those simpler exercises until you feel like everything is nice and tight and you can move on.